So this morning during my yoga practice, I was thinking about the focus for the week, dhruti, meaning persistence, perseverance, steadfastness. We could say dedication or fortitude, all these qualities. I was thinking about that this morning as I went out, as I was saying, on the back deck. I have a hot tub and a cold plunge, and I know the value of that hot, cold for my mental well-being, my brain recovery from my brain injury, vagal tone, digestion, all these things. And because the cold plunge was frozen closed, because it's currently snowing and icing outside here in Portland, it's not drastic right now, but it's very cold. Because it was frozen closed, I had to make an extra effort to lift the lid of the cold plunge. And then I got to watch myself negotiating my preferences, right? So like it took me several seconds, let's say 30 seconds to a minute to pry that thing open. So I was like, well, I'll go back in the hot for a moment until I feel like I'm the temperature I want to be. And then I can go in the cold. So I left the lid open, of course, and then going in the cold and standing outside in the cold. It's a different feeling than doing it in the summer. When you're in the cold plunge, then you stand outside, it's not quite so cold. Standing outside in the cold after the cold plunge with the snow droplets touching the skin, you have to pay very subtle attention to that to feel, because the snow is so tiny right now and it's not that voluminous just yet, but it was like this really delicate experience of sensation and attention. And I thought, well, this is yoga also, this experience is yoga. And then on my yoga mat, I was thinking further about our theme this morning, dhruti. And I want to pursue a couple things with you related to the psoas muscle, see what we can do there. Let me just take this off and then we will get started. I can see the snow is coming down a bit more right now. It's just outside this glass door here. It's really cool. Wonderful to have some precipitation. Yeah. So thank you again for being here. Let's take a few minutes to sit quietly, and then we'll explore this practice called dhruti. And as I said, I'll be incorporating the psoas muscle today. I'm also interested in the eyes. And what I want to do is tie it from the pelvic floor to the psoas, the diaphragm, and then see how the eyes can be helpful with our brain integration. So please rest your hands in your lap, and you're welcome to close your eyes. You're finding your way to your seat mentally. I know you're already here physically, but as you find your mental seat, let me make a recommendation. Since we're still in the vata season, on the cusp of the kapha season, let's put the mind in the seat of vata in the body. So that each dosha has a seat, and the seat for the vata dosha is in the lower abdomen. So place your mind in the lower belly and try to sense the place from where your inhale is beginning, your exhale is ending. And keep your mind there, even though the breath will move. We want the mind to be still. The mind resting in one spot. You can imagine that this is like looking at the flame of a candle and keeping your eyes steady, even though the candle would flicker. You're not following each flicker. So keep the mind at the place where you sense the inhale blooms, from where does it blossom, and where the exhale then, as it's most cohesive, tone at the end. The capacity you have for concentration right now. A reminder that the word for that in Sanskrit is dhyana. And we need concentration to explore each of the yamas because the teachings are not superficial. They go very deeply into our lives. So please raise your hands to your heart. We'll chant the Gayatri mantra. Let's begin. Om Bhurva Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Argo Devasya Dhimoi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhurva Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Argo Devasya Dhimoi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhurva Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Argo Devasya Dhimoi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands and open your eyes. So a couple days ago, I was speaking to another group of people in my Hunger, Hope, and Healing program. We were discussing the difference between acceptance and apathy, which is a significant difference. But sometimes we have learned this kind of pseudo acceptance that is actually more like apathy. And in the same regard, we have sometimes learned this kind of pseudo form of persistence that is actually like pushing through using the same strategies and the same like internal matrix that we've been using for decades. And so if pushing or persevering for us before has meant something like just keep going because you have the pitta dosha to do it, or because you have the kapha stubbornness to do it, if it's meant that, then we have to update the word perseverance or persistence, fortitude, stamina. The persistence required to pursue yoga, not to keep repeating the adaptations of our early life in our adulthood. And so that requires this kind of discernment and concentration. So we know when we're practicing persistence towards the goal of yoga, which is freedom from the patterns that perpetuate our suffering, not the extra vitality needed to keep perpetuating the patterns that actually look like solutions but are tied into suffering. So this distinction has to be understood so that our yoga is moving us to yoga, as it were. So with this in mind, we're going to start actually at the pelvic floor this morning. And so I'd like you to have a block to kneel on these little edges right here. This is about the width of the sitting bones. So you're going to end up with the inside edge of the sitting bones on the edge of the block. So come over to virasana, sitting on the front edge of the block. And you'll know how far forward to sit when, if you tip the pelvis forward, you don't want the pubic bone running into the block. And when you roll the pelvis backwards, you're going to sense, oh, there's the sides of the sacrum. Okay, so please come to sit. And if it helps you, you can move the flesh from the gluteal muscles and the pelvis, move that a little bit sideways so then the bones of the pelvis are touching the beveled edge of the block right here, even more deliciously. Okay. And then drop your mind down. Those sensations, that's like sources of information for you. Mostly representing tension, right? A place where a muscle has learned to hold tension because somewhere else it's getting the message to do that. What we're going to do is inhale and roll the pelvis forward like a cow pose tilt, and then exhale and roll the pelvis back like a cat pose tilt. So I can report to you from personal experience because I've been doing this practice for a long time. I don't do it every day, but I do it consistently. And for my right hip, which is a surgery that I had for my hip replacement in 2010, the sensations here are very mild to moderate. The inner edge of my sitting bone there is normal, like, not particularly tense. The left side, that surgery is just within the last 5 months, 6 months. And so when I roll back, not much tenderness, but when I come up, right there it starts. And when I come forward, it increases. So I know, and then it releases again. I know that there's a place where some of the pelvic floor muscles are still compromised from the surgery. And you, of course, may have your own indications about why something is tender. And so notice how you're breathing into whatever that experience is. And if the sensations are moderate to extreme, then you want to put some padding over the block, like you could fold your yoga mat over it so it's got a little bit of extra cushion. Now let's take the feet up so it's more like you're squatting. So now when you roll back on the block, there should be enough block behind where you're sitting that you can feel the middle of the sacrum, and then roll yourself forward so you're up like on the center of the sitting bones right there. And then roll back. Of course, also keeping your balance. Inhale, come forward. And exhale, roll back. This time as you inhale to roll forward, start taking the knees apart and reach. And then exhale and roll back, and you can bring the knees into about hip distance. The feet can touch, the inner edges of the feet might touch there. And roll forward. Back. The snowflakes are getting larger outside, and the white is getting to cover the ground more. And just like that snow accumulating, we are also capable of accumulating stress and tension in the body that we don't actually know is there until we come to yoga class. We are also capable of deaccumulating, which is what we're doing right now. So roll forward one more time, please. And then bring yourself just up to the center where you place the feet hip distance apart now. Take your second block for your right hand, place it behind you. Raise the left arm, breathe in. And then cross the left arm over your right knee without pushing the right knee into the center. So keep the right knee stable and twist to your right. Now, if you try to keep both sitting bones stable, both hips equal, and the right knee didn't move, also check that you're not drifting the left knee out to the side. So keep that one stable as well. So the pelvis and the bones of the pelvis are firm. And what you're twisting is like the inner belly. So the seat of vata is in the pelvis. Can you bring the mind and the breath down there together to kind of usher your vata dosha back home? When our vata mind is out of balance, it's really hard to cultivate dhyana, which is concentration. Also hard to come into viveka, which is the word for discernment. So breathe into the pelvis and the belly. Invite your vata dosha to come back home to its proper seat. And then exhale, and please come around to face forward. Bring your block with you. Place it in your left hand. Rotate your torso to the left so you've got support back here from the block. Raise the right arm up. And let's cross over. And check that you don't push the left knee to center and the right knee is not wandering. And then twist to your left. And bring the breath down. You might even imagine taking the breath down to touch the sensations of the sitting bones, because that's a further invitation for the vata dosha to be, its true home is in the colon, its seat is in the colon. So come down to the sensations where you feel like you're connecting back home. Exhale, and please come around to face forward. And you can put that one block aside. Now you're sitting up on a block. Close your eyes and try to sense where your mind is. Let's address the psoas and then the eyes, the work we've been doing with the eyes. And I'm going to ask you after that to check and see what is then the feeling for you in the meditative quality of the mind, which I want us to be able to take into the rest of the practice. So keep your blocks, but reach for your blanket, please. Unfold your blanket. And then, how do I do this? I forgot. Okay, fold it in half, length to length. And then fold it in thirds, like this. Reach down the length of the mat for the blanket. The part you're going to need is just this very first edge here. I hope you haven't eaten anything yet. Those of you on the East Coast for this practice, I hope you haven't had a large breakfast. So we're going to take this little roll. This is contraindicated if you're pregnant, of course, you know that. It'll seem obvious. As you roll this, we're going to be placing the belly button at the top of this little roll here. I don't prefer this when I've had my menstrual cycle. I don't do this practice on those days, but it's not contraindicated otherwise. And you're putting it on the belly button, not on the uterus. Okay, so when you come down, you can support your head. You can put your head in your hands. You can commiserate with yourself or others. But when you come down, I'd like you to be able to roll your pelvis side to side. That's why we made the blanket so narrow before rolling it up. So that we can go gently side to side, and right alongside the vertebrae there are some of the insertions for your psoas muscle. So as you're rolling side to side, let's roll slightly down to the right and then pause there. And see if during the exhale you might be able to melt around the pressure of the blanket. And roll slightly more to the right. And soften around the pressure of the blanket. And then roll a little more to your right one more time. Notice where you can soften, where you can have that inner sense of welcoming or permitting. Maybe even appreciating. Roll slightly back to center. And slightly back. And all the way back to center. And then roll very slightly to your left. See if the breath is welcome to come down into those sensations. And go slightly more to the left. And a little more yet again to the left. And then roll slightly back to center. Slightly back a bit more until you find yourself returning to center. Now bend both knees and shift the knees and the shins and the feet side to side, like windshield wipers. And then bring that back to center. Press into your elbows and your knees. Lift the lower belly up off of the blanket, and let's, excuse me, reach back and take this blanket that you rolled and unroll it and place it there for your forehead. Please open the knees apart so it's easier to breathe into the abdomen. And rise up to kneeling, and let's just take a pause and notice now, what is the quality of the mind? Like, what is the feeling tone if you were to go towards meditation from here? Take this blanket and we'll fold it back to the storage fold. We're going to want it at the end of class to match the other blanket. And then please take a seat for a few moments. We're going to do the eye activities that come from yoga and go with our focus this week of dhruti. So find a comfortable upright seat. hopefully your seat actually feels more comfortable because you've done some work with the pelvic floor and the psoas. Now, keeping your head centered and your eyes closed. When you inhale, gaze to your left. And then exhale, glide to the right. So your eyes move smoothly as much as you can. Let's inhale, slide to the left. And exhale, right. And go smoothly and see if you can pace it with the breath cycle. About 4 times more to each side. Practice making it smoother. And go once more to your right. And then back to center. Now keeping your head level, gaze down at the cheekbones with your exhale. And up towards the forehead with your inhale. And practice making that smooth also as you go gaze down and up. Notice where the transitions feel bumpy to you or where everything feels smooth and cohesive. Bring your gaze to center. Now imagine you're gazing at the tip of the nose. And then you're gazing out through the temples. And the tip of the nose. Temples. Do that 3 times more. Noticing the smoothness with which you can move and any improvement or regression as you do it. Like you get better, but then you don't. Maybe you get lucky and then you go, oh, bumpy again. And then bring that also to a close and let the eyes rest. Relax your mind and your body and check and see what is it like now to consider the meditative state. The word in Sanskrit is dhyana, the quality of meditative presence. Let's take this meditative attention with us to some physical movement. So please put your 2 blankets aside. You will need them at the end of class. Rise up to standing. You'll need your 2 blocks. Let's put the 2 blocks down like, this is something that I amuse myself with, like an equal sign, like 2 hyphens, I guess. Okay, take a wide stance. Snowflakes are getting bigger. The neighbor's roof is no longer visible, it's all white. Okay, come down please to Prasarita Nasana. Place your hands on the 2 blocks firmly. On the inhale, lengthen your spine. Try to lift the base of the skull so you sense the whole spine and the head is uniform. And take the back of your left hand and start sliding it down the outside of the block on your right. Keep the right arm straight. So you're encouraging a twist of the rib cage to the right. However, the right arm is straight, so you can only go so far based on your right shoulder joint. And then make the spine long, so lift the base of the skull and turn your head to your left really slowly. And keep the right arm stable and turn your eyes to the left farther than your head can go. Press down through your right arm. Bring your head and your torso to center and return your left hand to its block. Bring the back of your right hand around the outside of the block on your right. As you're coming down, keep the left arm straight. Keep the spine long, and as you're ready to, rotate your head to your right. The rib cage is still going left. And then turn your gaze to the right a little farther than your nose can go. And then press into your left arm and hand and return to neutral. Walk the blocks forward. Walk your hands out forward. Reach the hips back, and as you're lengthening here, enjoy a deep breath in, lift the base of the skull. And then bring the back of your left hand across to the outside of your right shin. And however you're able to reach that, you could make the feet closer to each other if you need to, or you could use a yoga strap to lengthen your left arm. So wrap the back of your hand around the outside of the right shin. Please twist under the right arm. Rotate your right tricep towards your nose, so the right arm is rotated externally. That means the crease of the elbow rolls up towards the ceiling. Maintain your twist to the right with your inner belly, your rib cage, your heart, your shoulders. Turn your head to your left. Take the eyes to the left a little further than your nose can go. And then exhale, release your head to be lined up with your spine in the twist to the right. And replace your left hand back out on its block. And take the back of your right hand to the outside of your left shin. Twist under your left arm, rotate your left elbow crease towards the ceiling. So the left shoulder blade is wide on the rib cage. And as you're twisting your inner belly, your mid-torso, your heart to the right, now rotate your head to your, you're twisting to your left, rotate your head to your right. And the eyes a little further to the right. And release your head back to be aligned with your torso in the twist to your left. And place your right hand out over the block. And let's go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe to center, and then walk your hands back. Please come into Uttanasana. Raise your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. Okay. Let's turn to Surya Namaskar, please. And this morning we're going to do it where we bring in our little improvisation from before. So you can set the blocks aside now and come to the front of your mat. Join your palms together. Root down into your feet. Come into the Ujjayi breath. Remember that dhruti means to be persistently moving towards the goal of yoga, which is integration, healing, resolution. It's not performance or acrobatics. Inhale, arms down, palms forward, up, and look up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Exhale, step back with the left foot. Inhale, rise. Exhale, descend. Keep the legs steady. Inhale, downward dog. Exhale, plank pose. Inhale, chaturanga. Exhale, onto the stomach. Sweep your arms straight back. Inhale, salambasana. Exhale, lower down. Place your hands under your shoulders, palms face down. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, downward dog. Move your gaze back between your toes. Breathe in. And then exhale, left foot forward. Press firmly into your left heel and right toes. And inhale to rise. Exhale, descend. Inhale, step forward, heart forward. And exhale, bow towards your legs. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Okay, inhale, raise up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Exhale, right toes back. Inhale to rise, crescent. Exhale, descend, keeping the legs steady. Inhale, downward dog. Exhale, plank pose. Now pause here, breathe deeply in plank pose. Exhale, knees down and right. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees down and left. Inhale, plank. This time, exhale, chaturanga. And inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, pranam means bow your forehead to the floor. Toes under, inhale to plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. Breathe in. Exhale, right foot forward. Inhale, rise to your crescent. And exhale, descend. Inhale, step forward, heart forward. Exhale, deep bow to the legs. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Continuing, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, glide forward. Left toes back. Rising. Bend. Inhale, plank. We exhale, knees down and right. Inhale, raise the right arm. Exhale, return. Inhale, plank. Exhale, knees down and left. Inhale, open left. Exhale, return. Keep the right arm straight so the left hand has to find the floor from there. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Pranam. Plank. Downward facing dog. Enjoy the inhale. Exhale, left foot forward. Inhale to rise. Exhale, descend. Inhale, step forward, heart forward. Uttanasana. Rising up. To the heart. Once more. Inhale. Okay, exhale, Uttanasana. Glide forward. Right toes back. Rising. Descend. Plank pose. Knees down and right. Open to the right. Okay, exhale, raise your hips. Inhale, sweep the right arm past your right ear. And exhale, return it to the floor, plank pose. Now knees down and left. Inhale, open. Press into your outer right shin. Raise your hips. And inhale, sweep your left arm past your left ear. Bring it down to the floor and exhale to plank pose. Inhale, downward dog pose. And then exhale to Chaturanga Dandasana. Come smoothly through. And inhale to Cobra. Exhale, Pranam. Inhale, table pose. And exhale, child's pose. Walk your hands back towards your knees and rise up to kneeling. And I think I just left out one of your crescent lunges. So your body should be able to integrate that absence. It's not a tragedy. I'd like you to have 2 blocks close by, because where that little improvisational sequence goes, you may be needing some blocks. So let me see how I can show. Yeah, I think if I put my knees to the left, you're going to see better what the legs do. So come to your plank pose. And take the knees down and to your left. And then you roll the outer right hip down. Okay, then we opened. This time what we're going to do is take the left foot with the left hand and tuck it back. So it's kind of in what we call virasana. And that becomes a little bit of an opening. But we're actually going to lie down. So what we need is one of these blocks goes where the upper back is going to be. It goes for the shoulder blades. And the other block goes for your head. I didn't quite get my first block where I want it to be, so I'm just going to show you the approximation, and then I'm going to refine my own setup. So you're basically lying back, and you want the support under the shoulder blades, and then under the head. And let's take the arms overhead. So with the left leg, it's in the pose we call virasana. And I want you to lengthen from the back of the hip towards the tailbone, towards the hamstring, towards your knee. At the same time, you're lengthening from the front of the left thigh up the front of the hip towards what's called the ASIS, the anterior superior iliac spine. And you may start feeling across your hip flexors and or even your psoas muscle there. You could hook the thumbs overhead and lengthen as you like. It's possible that for some of you, when you lie back, you would prefer the blocks to be tall rather than medium. Let's take the arms wide. And now we're going to roll left arm towards the right. And rise up, place your right hand on the floor behind you, the fingers point backwards, and come into the ice skater position. And then exhale. Now this is really interesting to me as you try to bring the left hand back down to plank pose. Keep the legs and the pelvis so that you're not lowering the hips too soon. Notice how far the left arm can go. And then stack the knees. It's going to be easier. And you can raise up to plank pose. Okay, let's get the other side set. So you know you're going to need 2 blocks. Place them so you won't tip them over. You want to have confidence that they're going to be there for you. Don't use your cat or dog, they might move. And then let's go to plank pose. Take the knees down and to your right. Okay, so the left hand has to be inside the blocks, I think, yeah. Sorry, had a little mental distraction. Okay, let's open. Take your right foot with your right hand, bring it back so it's in virasana. Check your blocks and lie down. You may take the arms overhead, you might hook the thumbs together. So in this virasana, your hips actually have a little bit of an angle, but I don't want you to think that you're tipping wildly of the pelvis to the left. So do your best to kind of rotate the pelvis to center so both hips would point up towards the ceiling equally. The left knee is out to the side like that, so it's not going to be 100% equal, but don't be lazy there. Lengthen from the back of your right hip into your hamstring and draw from the quadricep up in towards the abdomen so that this bony landmark, the ASIS, you're really drawing in and up towards the belly. And then open the arms in a T shape, and let's take the left hand or elbow to the floor. Reach your right arm across to raise up. Now, if you can place the two hands, then stabilize with your left hand, left arm, left shoulder, roll this back, and come into your ice skater pose. Now, keeping the legs stable, bring your right arm across your face and aim to place your right hand down really slowly so the right knee stays in the arch of the left foot. And that's because you're going to feel the twist in the mid back and the upper back differently there. Then join the two knees and come to plank pose. And touch the knees down. Let's sit back to virasana. Come to kneeling. Feel into your body's experience there. It's like aerating the soil for the garden. Let's see what happens to the quality of dhruti. If you think of it now, when you come to this seat, what happens to that quality? Can persistence be a fresh understanding of perseverance, not picking up on like past messages that you must somehow persevere, but that you want to have perseverance for your yoga. Reach for your two blankets, please. And place your blanket so that there's a firm edge that is stacked. So I have to name my little blanket stack here. This firm edge right here is what I'm talking about, that should be stacked. Okay. Bring your chair. Quite knows precisely where to put the blankets, but what is going to happen here is that first the base of the skull is going to be here at the edge. Watch out for hair ties, by the way. And then after the base of the skull, we're going to have the base of the cervical spine, then we'll have the upper back and the heart. So it goes like this. Put your hips here without rolling backwards off of your blankets. I won't share my thought about that at the moment. I'm laughing at my own thought. Okay, so what I'm doing is then scooting my hips down the blanket so that if I take the base of the skull and rest it right there at the edge of the two blankets, my head doesn't reach the floor. And I'm going to ask you to rest back like that for a few moments while you have your hips and your lower back on the blankets. And it's not that relevant yet what's happening with the chair. So you can just keep your feet resting there. Now when the head drops back like this, we made the blankets the storage fold so they're a little bit wider rather than the long narrow one that we have also used. So I'm going to ask you to press the base of the skull back against the blanket. And gaze towards your forehead with the eyes closed. And relax that pressure, gaze towards your cheekbones. Press the base of the skull against the blanket and gaze towards your forehead. Relax the pressure, gaze towards your cheekbones. Once more. And then support your head as you squiggle backwards until you have the blankets at the very top of the thoracic spine, the base of the cervical spine. That means that your shoulders are not going to reach the floor. Now roll your head to your right, to your left, get a sense of what you have for capacity there, side to side without moving the shoulders. Okay, and then let's roll to the right and stay. And take your gaze a little more to the right, farther than the head can go. Roll to center, take your gaze to your left, your head to your left, sorry, and your gaze farther than your nose can go. And then back to center, and now we're going to scoot until the base of the shoulder blades is at the edge of the blankets right there, and your legs go up on your chair. So I want to reiterate how comfortable the position is, that the blanket is at the lowest part of the shoulder blade, but the shoulder blades are still touching the blanket a little bit right there. So if you made a cross section, the blanket is behind the middle of the sternum. And it should feel like a gentle back bend with your head and neck comfortably supported. If it's too high for you, 2 blankets might be too high, please go to 1 blanket for Shavasana. Otherwise, you can stay as we are. We have here some pelvic flexion and thoracic extension. And my hope is that your neck and throat actually feel neutral, neither effort towards flexion nor extension, but to be neutral. Take your inner gaze down towards your heart. Relax your mind, your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw. Rest your gaze lightly but consistently in towards the heart. Relax your shoulders, your arms, your fingers and thumbs. To have this quality of refuge in the heart. Keep your gaze resting there quietly as well. The mind and the body together to rest. Attention is in the heart. Allowing the mind to stay at rest like this. Let's bring the knees over the chest and shoulders. Reach back with one hand to support your head. Let's use the right hand for that. And then roll down to your side. You're coming off of the block, so put your right foot on the floor, left foot on the floor, and then roll down. And press up to find your seat. Hope is that your seat feels really easy to embody. And that place in the upper back that sometimes bothers people, as you have said in meditation, my hope is that it feels upright and open. So let's rest the hands in the lap, please. You have the experience of the Sahaja, the natural state of meditation, dhyana. Keep your mind at rest in the clear sky of awareness. When Vata goes back home, the seat in the pelvis, then the beneficial luminous quality of Vata for the mind may see the open sky without distraction. Raise your hands to your heart. The refined perseverance and stamina of a yogi, or what meditation holds, not as a kind of pushing on our mental adaptations about life. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Get the recording so we can be together.